hey, you guys missed the perfect sign-off for minute 45 after watching all the delicacies on the Maharaja's table in honor of the soup. Goat!
Indiana Jones, Indiana Jones, Indiana It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute, the daily podcast in which we get right to the heart of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, one misunderstanding at a time. I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Jerry Porter.
And today we are joined by the podcasting legend behind Sully Baseball Daily, the podcast that hasn't missed a single day since October 24th, 2012, which is a date I, as a Giants fan, remember very fondly. And I would like to think that if Short Round had survived past 1935, he would have as well. Welcome back to the show, Paul Sullivan.
Hey, it's great to be back. And yes, I have not missed a day. Since my last appearance on the Sully on what the hell podcast? The Indiana Jones Minute podcast. But I've not missed a day. But man, I am so happy you guys are back to talk about the perfect film that is called Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I'm excited about this. And if I'm not mistaken, I have a lost episode because there was I think I did 4 episodes, but only 3 saw the light of day. So
yes, I feel bad about that almost every day. It was just like the computer just ate it. It just simply ate it.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's not even, we can't even pull that out for a special edition. It's just it's in the ether somewhere.
Well, you know, special editions never are worth it. They're never worth it. But
that's right.
Hey, I want to
shot first in that one.
Oh, geez. Before we cannonball into this one, I think I told a story in the lost episode that I wanted to share with the Indiana Jones fans because I have a unique experience with Raiders in that I saw it for the first time twice. I twice had the experience of seeing it fresh for the first time. And wow. I know that sounds a little bit like Memento, but bear with me. My family lived in Europe for a couple of years when I was a kid, but they didn't release all the American films in Europe like they do now, like all simultaneously. And so for the summer in summertime, we would come back to America and spend summer vacation there. In the summer of 81, I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to see a baseball game, and I wanted to see Superman 2. And my cousins Dave and Michael took me and my brother to see this new film that George Lucas wrote, and the guy who directed Close Encounters directed, and it stars Han Solo. I said, okay, that sounds cool. And so we went to a theater in Westport, Connecticut, and we got in. We got in a little bit late. We just missed the opening credits, but we got in, and it was the first scene of the movie, which was in the college when Indy's getting his assignment to go see the Lost Ark. I said, okay. And we watched it. We loved it. We cheered. We laughed. We clapped. It was fantastic. And we came back, and eventually we came back to Europe, and there were a bunch of other American kids saying, hey, did you see Raiders of the Lost Ark? I said, yeah. Remember that scene where the big boulder was chasing him? No. No. Remember when he was covered in tarantulas? No. Remember he stepped on the wrong thing and darts fly out and the natives were chasing him? He swung over to the plane. Did I see a different movie? Because every scene they were describing sounded like it was a 10-minute long sequence. And I'm like, how late were we? I mean, we easily missed an hour and a half of this movie. And so when we moved back in the summer of 82, this is back when, and also remember, kids were embellishing it because you didn't have the VHS to go back to, so you only had Topps cards and the storybook, so they added stuff to it. So suddenly it was like this big, huge thing. And so when we moved back to America the summer of 82, or as I like to call it, the summer of E.T. and Poltergeist and Tron,
there you go. Of course,
they re-released Raiders. And I took my mother and father to Waltham, Massachusetts, where the theater near where we were living, and I finally saw it from beginning to end, with the greatest opening of any movie ever. So I went to see it twice for the first time. And
That's awesome.
And it became my mother's favorite movie of all time, and is one of my dad's favorite movies of all time too. So I can't remember if I told that story or not during the Lost episode, but I wanted to share that with that weird, unique experience of this is still a new movie to me. I still don't know what's going to happen.
So that trailer guy was made for you when he always says "see it again" for the first time.
Oh yeah, it was talking.
That's the Paul Sullivan story.
See it again for this first time, Sully, because you were late, Sully, because you were.
Yeah, you missed parts.
Yeah. So yeah.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. And in case you're late joining us, we are here to discuss minute 46
He's so
of
good.
The Temple of Doom.
He's so good. He just weaves it right in.
He's a pro.
And minute 46 begins with Indy complaining that reports of his grave robbing are greatly exaggerated, and it ends with a gleeful announcement of dessert.
Yep.
Yeah, there's this weird. Chattar Lal is accusing him of various malfeasance around the globe, from the end of this last minute and to the beginning of this one, and Indy's got his the who is it? The what of Madagascar?
The Sultan.
That's what I thought he said. The Sultan of Madagascar threatened to have his head cut. No, not his head. No, his hands. Are we supposed to understand that Indy's been ravening somebody else's wood in Madagascar, like the Sultan's daughter or something? And he's going to get his meat and potatoes.
I think that this. I mean, I have a theory that the Sultan wanted to neuter Indy because he was actually cradle robbing.
Yeah.
Indy stole someone's virginity.
Yeah.
He didn't steal. Yeah, he didn't steal an idol or some magic rocks or whatever.
Right.
He stole somebody's virginity. It's a very pointed and kind of awkward scene.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't. I mean, you could, because you wouldn't want to neuter somebody just because they stole your, the broom that's on Indy's desk in the, in Raiders of the Lost Ark that he shows to Marcus, some little 800-year-old dust, whatever kettle or clay pot. Yeah. I think this is. What struck me about this little scene here is it's a little bit of a throwback to the James Bond Indiana Jones, trying to make him a little bit like James Bond, because that whole sequence to me was a little bit hinting at this cosmopolitan, jet-setting guy who gets himself into sort of, I don't know, I don't want to say sexcapades, but some sort of salacious thing around the globe, and then he kind of chuckles it off well, I'm not sure what you heard, but
almost got my penis cut off.
Exactly.
He doesn't deny anything.
No.
It's interesting because Chattar Lal says we're both we're both susceptible to vicious rumors, but in Chattar Lal's case they're true, and one kind of gathers that in Indy's case they're true as well, because he doesn't deny it ever. He just says they're exaggerated.
Right.
Also, if you remember, in a lot of James Bond films, there are scenes where Bond winds up having dinner with the villain.
Oh, sure.
That they sits down and they'll sit down with Goldfinger, or he'll sit down with the dude from Moonraker and just be like, "Oh, Mr. Bond, sit down. We have a veal parmesan and whatever." So, and then they sit down and just, I don't know if they have veal parmesan. Maybe it's what I would have ordered, but
sure.
This does have that moment of the two of them sort of facing off over dinner. Maybe not always, Snake's surprise, but. One of the things that I found about this scene, seeing just this clip with Roshan Seth, who's obviously a wonderful actor and is able to, kind of stand up to Indy, as it were, not be intimidated by him and everything like that, is that just watching this clip, this was this is a dramatic scene in the film where there's a bit of backstory and plot being unveiled, which is not unlike the scenes that I did for Raiders, which was the they're digging in the wrong place scene, which was just them in a room with Doug Henning and callback and doing a scene which not a lot of action is taking place. And I remember one thing I said in that was, this kind of scene in a movie today, suddenly a Rathtar or something would have to fall through the ceiling because they wouldn't trust the audience to just watch exposition.
Yes.
And watching this clip looks like, oh, this is an exposition scene, but all anyone remembers of this scene is snakes being eaten and bugs being eaten and everything, which goes to show how they didn't trust the plot in this film as much as they did in Raiders, and to a degree that they trusted more in Last Crusade, but they couldn't just let a scene play out. There has to be all sorts of other shit that goes on that, that distracts from the plot unfolding.
Right.
Yeah, well, there's a Rathtar. Yeah, Rathtar's about to fall through the ceiling.
Yeah, they're having Rathtar surprise.
They're having Rathtar surprise.
Yeah, we were saying last week that, I didn't realize that they had just started talking about, the thuggy cult and everything, that's introduced in this scene, because at the same time, you're seeing, Snake Surprise or something, or giant beetles being gobbled down and stuff. You, completely miss it. It's aggravating.
And kids we were laughing and clapping during this whole scene when we saw it in the movie theater. But it's like, oh, then Indy and this other guy talk about something, but then they're going to bring on something else that they're going to eat. Yeah. When anyone remembers this scene, said, remember when Chattar Lal was telling them about the thing in Madagascar? No, no.
It would be like if Porkins and Musgrove were having a pie eating contest while they were having that scene, where Indy's explaining what the staff of Rye is and everything, and and they start shoving hot dogs down their throats and everything. Wait, what do you say about a stick? What, a headpiece? What? I'm sorry.
Comparing it to Raiders, this is one of the main ways the movie falls down. Temple of Doom kind of falls down.
Well, if you want to not like a movie, you compare it to Raiders. And then that's
a good point. Yeah, but
I heard someone said to me once, "You can't compare it to Raiders." I said, "Yes, I can. It's an Indiana Jones film.
I'm doing it constantly."
Yeah, it's written by the same dude, directed by the same. I'm going to compare them. That's actually apples to apples.
Yeah.
Well, true. So at the beginning, I'm just kind of going over this. At the beginning of this minute, we've discovered that Indy has been barred from ever returning to certain countries. Mm-hmm. So it's like Honduras, Madagascar. And,
kind of impressive.
It called to mind, the opening sequence of Raiders, and I thought, so this guy's horrible.
Yeah.
We speculated, and we kind of went there like, oh, he's maybe not the best guy, but now you're like, oh no, he has worldwide infamy for stealing stuff, and all sorts of heads of state want to cut off his whoosh. And I don't know. I feel like he's going around, much like our podcast, but he's going around, celebrating infamy one country at a time.
Yeah.
He's
so
got
we know Honduras
with pins in it.
Yeah, it's got Honduras, Peru, Madagascar, all X'd off. It's funny though because there wasn't actually a Sultan of Madagascar at this time. It was a French colony, and they had a governor. So I kind of like to think that the Sultan of Madagascar was a pro wrestler.
You mess with the Sultan?
No wonder he wanted to cut off your. That's what he does. That's his final move.
It's like the Mortal Kombat move. Finish him.
I have a question about at the table you have Indy, you have Chattar Lal, you have Mr. Grady from The Shining.
Oh my God.
You have Short Round, who's the only one who's not dressed up, and you have Willie, and then you have a bunch of guys, the bearded dudes with the turbans who shove bugs down their throat. Mm-hmm. Are the dudes with the turbans who eat the bugs? Are they all part of the Thugi? Are they all in the temple later, like on their hands and knees going, or is Pat Roach one of them? I mean, who are those other guys?
You mean like parishioners?
Maybe.
Like
no,
Temple of Doom parishioners.
But they all still look exactly like they're wearing a disguise. Like, especially when you get some up close views, you can tell they're all wearing like fake beards and glasses. And so they could be anybody.
They look like Brian Wilson, former Giants pitcher Brian Wilson, all of them. That one was for Pete.
I appreciate that
politely,
one.
even I don't know what you're talking about.
Or they all look like funny. The women in Life of Brian. They look like the women in Life of Brian during the stoning scene. You know?
That one was for Tom.
That was for me. Thank you.
I'll work on one for you, Jerry. But maybe they're all people whose planes crashed and they wound up inexplicably at Pankot Palace.
Yeah, they're all on their way to Delhi.
Yeah, they've all been.
Is it a hotel? They just sort of, they wandered in and they're like, oh, we got a room for you.
Yeah, it's like a Bates Motel.
It feels like, yeah, and Chattar Lal is Norman.
Yeah, there's holes in all the bathroom walls.
There's a little deleted thing from the script where when they show up, Indy actually asks if they can stay overnight. He asks Chattar Lal, and he says, yeah, probably. Let me ask the Maharaja. I have a lot of influence with him.
Really?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Wow. I love Chattar Lal here, and...
Oh, yeah.
Indy weirdly got himself in over his head, and, Chattar Lal kind of has him on the ropes here, and... I feel like this is not only an awkward scene for Indy, it's an awkward scene to watch for an Indiana Jones fan. Because Indy is smug, he's self-righteous, he insults his host, he gets in hot water real fast and then quickly has to retreat while staring at his and then he's like, it's like retreating while looking down at your at your penis, as you said, Tommy. That's just...
I made that up. It's a word I made up.
That's just a terrible place to be. Retreating and looking down at your...
Trust me, it is. It really, it's a terrible thing, and I've been there. I call those days Tuesdays. And he gives up. He gives up. Most importantly, he gives up the secret mission. As Professor Christy Porty said, he gives up the secret mission. It's like, now you have 5 things here that he's just done, and I actually don't like him in this scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's acting as though he's a sly detective trying to, glean information out of Chattar Lal or something, but he's really being stupid about it. He's like, hey, I know something you don't know, and you don't know that I know that you... But Chattar Lal totally knows that he knows.
Yeah, he's just toying with him.
Yeah, and now he's staring at his misunderstanding now.
and there's an underpinning of what I like about Roshan. I mean, again, Roshan Seth's a really good actor, and at this point he was not an obscure actor. He had done Gandhi at this point, which was obviously a big success, and he's great in Gandhi. I don't know if you've seen it yet, Tom. I don't think you saw it when they.
I still have not.
Then we gotta do the Gandhi. We gotta do the Gandhi minute. We gotta do the Gandhi minute. But there's an underpinning of he's calling out kind of a racist element of Indy. Like, you're coming here calling us savages, basically. Mm-hmm. And I'm this Oxford-educated man, and you're someone who goes around to the point where you're gonna have your Jones! Cut off in Madagascar, and you're cut out of here. Who the hell are you to talk to us about this? And if you take away the fact that he is doing this horrible thing, and this dinner is them eating snakes and bugs and being really gross, Chattar Lal would have a really good point.
Right.
And
that's actually really depressing. Like, he doesn't, like, whatever upper ground he has is undercut because he's in a thuggy cult and he's eating monkey brains.
How dare you call us? How dare you call us that? Oh, here's some monkey brains and everything.
And you're in trouble in Honduras, aren't you? Nom, nom.
Well, speaking of that,
it's monkey brains. You eat them.
Well, speaking of that, we've got the Maharaja now kind of pipes up.
Yeah.
And he tells his little, I've heard the evil stories of the thuggy cult. And
I'll tell you about it in a song.
Yeah. But it's interesting because my big question like leading up to this, is the Maharaja in on it yet? Like, who's in charge here? Is Chattar Lal or is he? And his phrasing is interesting because he doesn't say he's heard stories of the evil Thuggy cult. He's heard evil stories of the Thuggy cult. So that kind of makes me think he's kind of parsing his words here, and maybe he's already on board.
Yeah, this is going to be unpopular, or at least unclassy. But I think the Maharaja's a snot-nosed little hoe bag.
Oh, Jerry! Please, come on. You're
just in this scene. I'm
I'm
not indicting him for the whole movie, but he's he's a little difficult to watch here too. I have heard the stories, and I don't know. And everybody stops, and even though like
now you also notice
the music stops, and
music stops. The dancers stop. The dancers stop too. It's like, oh, right, better stop dancing. We got Maharaja speaking.
It's just it's a little much. It's a little much.
Yeah,
and the dancers and the music pick right up when Indy apologizes. It's like the conductor's like, wait, hold on. He apologized.
Although I have to say that Indy does the classic. Well, if I offended you, I'm sorry. Like, it's the classic non-apology apology. It's like the I'm so sorry you were offended. Yeah.
Right.
But he's already ruined dinner.
I apologize.
Yeah. He's already ruined dinner. You can't shove that back in your mouth. You already look down at the whole scene is actually awkward.
Yeah. Now I'm no longer in the mood to eat. I'm no longer in the mood to eat bugs and snakes. Now you just ruined it for me, Andy.
Well, I had a question for you, Tom. You have a 9-year-old.
I do.
Do you tell him stories to frighten him?
Of course. Yeah.
Do you? Yeah.
Otherwise, you go to sleep on time and stuff, and not be a problem.
I mean, that's what the Maharaja says. Like, I thought they were just stories told to frighten children.
Right.
And you're like, when is that ever the point? And then I thought, well, let me ask Tom. He's an expert in storytelling and in 9-year-olds.
Yeah. No, you save the scary stories for,
when they're 16.
Teachable moments. Yeah.
I think that there's the look that it's funny that he gives a look to Chattar Lal, and Chattar Lal gives him the look of the little nod back, and Indy gives him a look back, and that's kind of on the own. It looks like it's like, okay, is this a plot point? Is the mystery growing? But it doesn't really pay off. That's kind of like this is a mystery flavored product. Like they're looking at each other, like, yeah, that's the plot's building, but you don't care about the plot because you're just waiting for the monkey brains to show up.
Exactly.
It's funny. There is another deleted scene. There's a lot of Roshan Seth on the cutting room floor of this film. Where when later in the film when Willie and Short Round are captured, after Indy is captured, after Indy's captured, they capture Willie and Short Round. Spoiler alert! At the Temple of Doom, Willie escapes and runs back to her room. And runs into Chattar Lal, who we now know as this Oxford-educated, nice man, and she goes, "You won't. There's this horrible thing going on there. You got to help me. You got to help me." And then it's revealed that no, he's part of it, and that's when Willie gets captured. Oh wow! And I thought that when I read about that deleted scene, I was like, wow, that would have been a really intensely dramatic scene, and that would pay off. And of course, Chattar Lal doesn't really pay off because he kind of shows up later with a knife and kind of gets trapped under a lever. But there's no payoff to his character, and he would have had this really cool dramatic scene with a great actor, playing it. And I'm wondering, God, do we really needed to keep Willie putting perfume on an elephant, but we couldn't keep the scene with Roshan Seth in, revealing that the plot goes throughout the entire palace?
That is really frustrating because that sounds cool. That sounds like that, like your stomach would drop out a little bit. Like, oh no, him he was kind of cool, and he was oh Jesus, They
do. Yeah, it is a spoiler. They do next to nothing with him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest regrets I have about this movie, or not regrets, but
Philip Stone. Philip Stone is like, he is. What's your favorite Captain Blumbert moment in this movie?
When he throws that kitten-sounding eel across the table.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you have Philip Stone, who's a solid Stanley Kubrick veteran, and you had Roshan Seth, who's a terrific actor. And you just sort of have them, you have one scene, and they're the thing that nobody remembers. More people remember the guy saying, chilled monkey brain, than Roshan Seth and Philip Stone. I'm not going to tell Spielberg how to make a movie, but, it's like, come on.
Yeah. No, I mean, we ask ourselves that constantly. Like, wait, Steven Spielberg's made a lot of really good movies. He should know better than this stuff. But I actually, in watching these minutes, I was getting really frustrated for all the reasons we're talking about. For, oh my gosh, they keep interrupting this kind of interesting conversation, which could be really interesting if we're not constantly, dragged to the other end of the table with the monkey brains and stuff. And I actually cut a version of it for myself, cutting out all the food stuff and just having the conversation to see if it was at all satisfying. And it kind of is, and I'll put that on the listeners' crusade when this goes up, because it's worth looking at.
It's like the machete order kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah.
And Steven Spielberg can be so great when it comes to plot and pacing and tension and that sort of thing, and this entire dinner scene, none of it makes any sense.
And just like cinematic flair, like he's got that touch, that light but effective touch. And right here, he's just pouring like guts all over everything. It's very weird.
The scene that I did last year for Raiders, the looking in the wrong place scene. One of the things that was so great was it was obviously beautifully shot. It was really well acted with Harrison and John Rhys Davis and the Amon. Mm-hmm. But it was also, there are little touches of the the art direction and the costume design, the use of like the wind coming in and getting the wind chimes, that they didn't draw attention to it. It just was part of the flavor. And here this has all the subtlety of a pig falling on a wedding cake. It's just sort of like, they don't allow anything to just play out subtly. So when they have a moment like the Chattar Lal giving an eyeball to the kid, it seems totally out of place because no, this is basically the vomit scene from Stand By Me. This is not a time for subtlety here.
Right.
And it's very frustrating because the first movie trusted the audience. It trusted the audience that you could sit through the explaining with Porkins, they're digging in the wrong place scene. Mm-hmm. Even the scene in the map room where it basically he sticks it in and points to where you're supposed to go, and it's one of the most intense scenes in the movie because they allowed it to unfold. And I don't feel.
The thing with Temple of Doom is it's filled with thrills and gimmicks.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting
it.
And
that's just it's thrills and gimmicks.
There is a deleted scene, not a deleted scene, but there was something from an earlier version of the script that will come up next minute. That I'll just tease this. That may have got a long way towards making this scene make a lot more sense.
Oh wow!
A lot of things could have helped that.
Yeah.
I wrote more into what you were saying there, Jerry. Occasionally I contribute to a blog, and I'll plug them now, called Stand By for Mind Control.
Oh, yeah.
Where we talk about movie stuff and everything. And one of the pieces I did was called, I did the thing on why I'd like to see a Forrestal prequel, but I also wrote a thing called How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And because I feel that the action scenes in Temple of Doom are superior to the action scenes in Last Crusade, which I think is a better written movie, but I think that the thrills and spills of Temple of Doom are superior. And a lot of them are left over from the original Raiders script that Lawrence Kasdan wrote. Mm-hmm. And you get the sense that they had all these great set pieces that Lawrence Kasdan wrote and said, I wish we could do something with these. Well, let's Sergeant Pepper this and just write a story that connects these action scenes. instead of let's write a story that these action scenes fit in, organically. And I think that the exciting scenes in this film are terrific. I love the coal mine car chase and the rope bridge and the spike room. And I love the nice try, Lausche, and you shut the door and it says Lausche. Those are all great scenes. But, Raiders, you start at the beginning. I don't care what scene you're at. I don't see there's them, Indy and Marion walking around saying, they're dates, you eat them. At that moment, you're going to watch it till the end. You're going to see it. There's no point in the film, You're in Indy's house. He's packing his bag, and it's when my mother says, flip right now, because if not, you're going to the next hour and a half of your life. You're watching this movie, but there's a lot of points to flip away in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
That's true,
and I think that's one of the, a highlight film of Temple of Doom would be great. Here are the best moments. But, as a whole, I hadn't watched the film from beginning to end since I was in college until, you guys asked me to come back and do this one. And I watched it from beginning to end. And I realized, wow, there are really parts in this film where I want to flip away, fast.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. I'm getting a beep.
Up.
This just in, Professor Christy Porter. The speech by the Maharaja shows the kids are the most serious and most responsible here. Like Shorty, like the kid who escapes because the grown-ups are all missing their rocks and forget to mention the kids are all in a mine. The kids got to do everything themselves in this movie. Apology accepted.
Wow.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, wait. Speaking of apology accepted, Pete, I've got a... It's just in from my brain. For me, there's a strong Star Wars connection with that nod between Chattar Lal and the Maharaja that we're talking about. It's very much Bausch and Boba Fett in Jabba's palace. Right after the whole Chewbacca thing goes down. Yeah. Yeah. Write it down.
And I'm sure you already got the heavy guy sitting back putting the stuff in his mouth is similar to Jabba putting the frog in his mouth, right?
Oh, sure. No, we didn't say that. That's kind of true.
That's a good one, too. We didn't say that. Yeah.
After he turned a Twi'lek into a frog.
There you go.
Well, Sully, if people are big baseball fans and want to hear your podcast or find you somewhere else, where could they do that?
You can check me. The easiest thing is just follow me on Twitter at Sully Baseball, or you can subscribe to the Sully Baseball Daily podcast on iTunes and Stitcher and SoundCloud and all those places where you go to follow baseball. And I'm not sure what point this is going to be dropping, but it might be right around the time the baseball season started. So I'm super excited. This will be a great baseball season.
Definitely. I know Tom and I are both super excited about this baseball season.
I know that baseball's in the summertime, so that's nice.
And Cleveland's going to be really good this year. So Jerry.
Oh man, that's I'd rather just look down and retreat and stare at my penis.
Is that your scouting report?
That's my scouting. Nothing against the Indians. They just, that one ball drop in the center field. What was it, Game 6? Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's for it's. Who cares about the Cubs? All right.
Now
that's
I'm sad.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody does by any small, tiny chance care about the Cubs and they want to tell us about it, Tom, where might they do that?
Oh, they could do it in any number of ways, but if you want to be really direct about it, you pick up the phone. Do people pick up the phone anymore? I guess you have to pick it up, but then you just push buttons on it to activate it. Pick up the phone and dial 724 Lost Ark and leave us a message and let us know what you think about the Cubs, the Indians, and other things I don't fully understand, or Raiders of the Lost Ark or Temple of Doom or something.
Wait a second. This movie has Indians in it. There you go. There's the connection.
Of course. We weren't off topic at all.
Bluebird's kind of a Cub, so we got all the bases covered.
There you go.
All right. And you can join us tomorrow right back here for minute 47 of the Indiana Jones Minute.
Jones!
Jones!
I didn't get to do Jones my first time, so
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
We don't do it enough. I've had a bad day. Jones!
There you go.
I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
You feel like $1 million, don't you?
Yeah.
I do now.
Misunderstanding.
in my kingdom.
Bonds for old ladies.